questions, there's two microphones right here, and you kind of have to stand a little bit close to them so that everybody can hear you. And I'm going to start with a question of my own. Is there any thoughts or law or theory in regards to carrying a modified firearm, for instance, a different trigger system or anything like that, in use of force, if you were to use a modified firearm versus a stock firearm to defend yourself with? Did I stump right off the bat? Or?
No, I don't think so.
Well, tell them why you're asking it to the thought of your owner.
Well, for instance, I have my Glock with me. I have an aftermarket trigger. I have plenty of aftermarket parts on it, and it is my carry gun. And I had heard, maybe it was a misconception, that it was better not to use any type of modified gun for a carry gun.
Because modification shows intent, you mean?
Well, because, for instance, if you have a lighter trigger system or anything like that, it makes it easier for you to shoot, maybe quicker. Could be quite a few other things. That's where the concern comes.
Lots of modifications.
Yeah, I'm trying to think something. Just keep going. Have them come up and talk on your mic.
Okay.
I believe there's lots of modifications you could be referring to. I mean, it could be something even like a fully automatic weapon. And if you have the federal tax to possess that weapon, and you're legal in possessing it, you can certainly use it in defense of your life. I mean, if you're justified in taking a life, you can take that life with a cannon that shoots animals if you need to. Am I right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think though that when things get to Jeff, and that could be part of a civil lawsuit, the type of gun and how you modify it. But no, I don't think that changes sort of the analysis that we're going through at all.
Hope it ain't over by the time I get there. I get this on Stevie? Well, okay. I'm loud. I can do that. Obviously, I'm a cripple, and so running isn't an option. And I used to be a martial arts guy, but I couldn't punch my way out of a paper bag now. Is there any special things in the law for guys like me? Because I've never worried about a gun until now. I have really no way to defend myself anymore.
I think there is. I think it goes back to what Judge Simmons and Rick Wiesenberg talked about, and at the center of any analysis of any fact pattern is reasonableness. Okay? If I'm, you are threatened and you are subjected to a higher level of potential threat at what is arguably a lesser level of aggression. And since you can meet force with force, it becomes a case-specific analysis that where you could reasonably have felt more threatened and reasonably have resorted to an escalating level of force in defense of your person. It also can enter into a scenario where someone else is being subjected to maybe a beating by 2 or more people, and you can go from a safe position where all you have to do is get into your car and leave, and if you act reasonably with a reasonable belief that that person on the ground is being subjected to felonious, unlawful use of physical force, then you could shoot him, even if it's not your beef. But again, it's fact-driven, and it's a question of reasonableness. If a 6-year-old kid has a big metal shovel and they're coming towards you across an open field screaming demonically, wonder what you've eaten or drank or smoked. But, should I really be thinking about shooting this 6-year-old kid with a shovel? or not. I use that as a ridiculously overdrawn example, but just for the purpose of the topic.
But the other thing is that there's no duty, where are you going? Oh, sorry. There's no duty to retreat, and what you're describing is sort of a diminished ability to retreat, and so that clearly factors into the reasonableness. Now, David's second scenario, where you see somebody, all you have to do is get your car and go, and somebody's getting beat up and you shoot them, that's going to be a little more tricky. So, just saying. David would agree. That's going to be a little more tricky. But as far as your ability, I mean, that's part of the case specific thing. It's really fascinating because when you look at the various cases on self-defense, and one of the things that I was noticing, that kind of one of the threads that runs through these is, the defendant would be you who have to shoot somebody. One of the things that also kind of runs through these things is that before they shoot the gun, they're angry, and and they're feeling provoked, etc. And that's real world stuff. And so, but the short answer to your question is yes, that would come into play.
Thank you.
Is Mike still there?
Yeah, we're good.
Do you want us to just call people Mike?
You're coming to the room.
Oh, okay.
Everybody can hear.
Hello, John Strode. I got two questions. One, when you were talking about the law, you said attempt to trespass. So my question is, if you see somebody that looks like he's scoping out your property and he's been there 4 or 5 times, where does the term attempt to trespass start fitting in? You should think he's coming across to you or trying to get in your property.
Well, attempt usually, there are instructions for intent, and so, correct me if I'm wrong, but the attempt is going to require a substantial step. And so, someone looking at your property, I mean, even if you think you know what they're doing, may not be a substantial step. It could vary on how much time they spend, how close they are to your property, so there's a lot of different factors that are going to play into that.
Run a make on their car, get their license plate, go out and take a picture of them. Flip the table.
I've done
Be
that.
creative, use your mind, don't always think of, can I shoot that guy or not?
No, that's not right. That's not right. Which goes along with his question, would you help that girl? Helping somebody doesn't mean you're jumping in the middle of it. Helping could be calling the law.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other one is, and it doesn't have to do with firearms, but it has to do with taser. I walk my dog late at night. So if somebody comes at you and you got one of those personal protection tasers, is that legal to use that against somebody if they're attacking you?
Not the kind that throws a little darts, but the one that has a little prong.
Yeah, little prongs in it. About that long.
Was it reasonable?
Right.
Were you reasonable in feeling that you were about to be subjected to the unlawful use of physical force?
Okay.
So again, you just can't put out a cookie cutter fact situation as much as it's compelling to want to do it.
I understood the weapon part, the pistols, right, stuff like that, but I was just trying to get a better idea about tasers. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll dish off to them, but I think it doesn't matter whether you got a frying pan or you got a pool cue or you got a shovel or a Glock or a Taurus.
The car type.
Hi, I'm Donna Smith. Some of you just asked me earlier this evening, I'm coming out of the closet. Yes, I am Maggie Rose from the radio talk show from years ago. Anyway, the thing with the mace and the pepper spray, my first question, Jeff, is which one would you prefer? Which one has a better range? Which one do you feel is more effective? Because I'm also a licensed nurse and I've been in the Army for 41 years. I'm due to retire. And when you shoot someone or dart someone with some pepper spray or mace, as he knows, when you've got someone who's really hopped up on meth, it doesn't work. Because I've had patients jumping off of 3 stories, breaking their arms and legs, and they get up and they keep on trying to go. So what would you prefer, the pepper spray, the mace? Which one do you think would be more effective? And what are the legalities? And the other thing is, what I've done is I've got relatives south of the border, and I have to drive 9 hours once a month for drill, and I go on a federal installation. I know not to take a carry on that federal installation. If I did, I'd have to surrender it when I go on the gate. I take pepper spray or mace with me. And I'm going to do a plug now, Umpqua Survival on Diamond Lake, one of the owners is here right now. That's where I get all my pepper spray and my mace. I even send it down south of the border because I have relatives that won't use a gun at all. And some of them are very elderly. And so I've taught them how to use the pepper spray and the mace. I've told them where they need to be standing. I've told them that you have to go out and practice with it a few times. If I have to send you 2 bottles, you use one for practice, you have another one that you carry. So that is what would be my first thing, is the pepper spray or the mace. But again, the taser, now I'm kind of concerned about that, because if they can get close enough to you for you to use the prominent arm, then they could also empower you. So I have a question about that.
What's your question?
About the taser versus the pepper spray, the mace.
I leave it up to the sheriff. They get to use that stuff all the time.
Well, I can't begin to talk about the pepper spray that's available to the public, because I use stuff that's for law enforcement only. Sean could probably talk about that a little bit, or somebody that sells the products for the public. As far as comparing pepper spray to the taser, or did you want to know the, I don't know. Mace and pepper spray to me are one of the same. But as far as comparing one of those products to a taser, I would choose the taser over any of the other pepper products every time. The taser is much more effective, at least the type of equipment that we have available to us in law enforcement.
But you mean a stun gun that you actually have to touch them with?
Yes.
I mean, you're within their proximity, you're kind of in danger anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Taser is kind of distant.
Well, yeah, but even our tasers are made to use in a contact situation. So if you fire the actual darts and you miss, or they are ineffective, you can still go into contact mode and apply the taser that way as well.
And if I could, I want just one second here. The reason that I brought the whole thing up, I mean, we're all here talking about, primarily firearms and deadly force encounters. And I brought up the pepper spray thing. Why? Because maybe I was a little too forceful in what I was saying to everyone, but I truly practice situational avoidance.
Yep.
When I walk down to the bricks from my law office, if I see some hoodlum on the left side of the street where I'm going, I just hit the crosswalk there, take the other side. Why not? Am I a puss? Maybe. Thank you, but I'm pretty healthy right now. That's why I prefer to be. Why do I want the pepper spray in my pocket? Here's the one that scares the heck out of me. The guy at Christmas Valley store with the tap-out shirt, half jacked up on meth. There are so many of these martial art fighters now, cage fighting. I think these guys could kill you with their hands easily. You know what scares me to death? If I get in a confrontation with somebody like that, what do? I don't see a knife. I don't see a firearm. But this guy could he could kill me. Do I want to shoot him? Am I going to go to prison? Yeah, I was in fear of my life, but it's this gray line. I don't know where I'm at. By God, I'll try the pepper spray first, maybe. You gotta all judge for your own situation. That, to me, when I have a guy that's gonna kick my butt and potentially kill me without a gun, without a knife, without a bat, just with his hands, thank you, I'll take the pepper spray at that point, at a minimum. Maybe more than that, but at least that. And that's why I brought up the pepper spray issue, because that's the one, out of all this stuff, I know, if the guy's got a gun pointing at you or a knife or something, that's different. What about the guy with his hands? That's one that really has me spooked. So, sorry.
That's a good point.
All right, so pepper spray mace, about the same thing. If you are using it for a self-defense thing, even the little ones are fine. If you're out walking and want it, get yourself one of the bear ones. They go a distance, yeah. And You can shoot the dogs or whatever, but it's at a distance. Now the taser, stun gun things, they make ones that are about this long. They're a flashlight as well as a stun gun, so you have the distance. I actually ordered one for a lady who got attacked by a dog. Well, when walking hers, we got that so that if the dog attacks hers, she doesn't have to stick her hand into the melee. She can do it from a distance and still stun the other dog. So that would be a better option than the little ones where you have to be up close and personal to use it. This will give you a good foot or two of distance to be able to stun someone with that.
The only time I would want a gun with me is if I'm either inside my house late at night by myself, my husband's out working, or if I happen to be out in the woods camping and there's only one or two of us, and we see that we're in imminent danger of someone walking to our camp that's physically threatening us. But other than that, I would prefer the mace, the pepper spray, and the taser gun over any handgun. Those would be my first three choices. Oh, wasp spray, that's another good one.
As a firearms instructor, I'm going to throw a kink in the whole thing. A question that I commonly hear is, what do I do about the aggressive dogs? The aggressive dogs. And last week, I'm in the county, walking my dog. Here come 3 big farm dogs. He backed up. And I'm giving them commands, and they're staying back.
Tom, tell them how big Lucky Dog is.
Lucky Dog is 18 pounds, a little terrier, but he wasn't very bold. He was staying behind me because they were big dogs. Okay? He wasn't being aggressive. He was being intimidated, and I'm giving, stop, back, go away. And I'm yelling. Now, the whole time, I got my hand on my Glock. I don't want to shoot a frickin' dog. I like dogs, even if they're aggressive. If you're in the county, now when I lived in town, it was even worse. If you shoot a dog in town, you're in deep doo-doo. Okay? And I don't want to shoot a dog, so I used to always carry bear spray. Lay it down in the fog. It's also good on owners, too. But if they walk into the fog, I didn't say I intentionally sprayed them. But so, my question is, if you're a gun owner and you're in town and you're confronted by a couple of pit bulls, you're in a lose-lose situation. If you are forced to use the gun, you're probably going to get indicted for animal abuse and probably for illegal discharge of a firearm. In the county, I mean, I don't know. Fortunately, the owner came down the road in an old pickup and said one word and they went away. But I have this question and I've experienced it. Input. For right now, it's bear spray for me.
We have a rancher that says, when it comes to dogs, shoot, shovel, and shut up.
I'm not shooting a dog.
I think Jeff answered my question during the break. Is deadly lethal force is not just relegated to firearms. It could be a Louisville Slugger or anything, right? Okay, so I'm in my home, and a couple of these cases that Mr. Terry talked about is interesting. I mean, I'm in my bedroom and I hear noise, and here's a guy coming up the stairs dressed in black. How far do I let this escalate before I think, you know what, I could be in danger here. Maybe I should do something. I mean, when the guy's in prison, it's interesting to know how can they determine what my mindset is. Because I've been through, I'm sure the officers have to go through these shoot, don't shoot scenarios. I've been through one in the military, in a facility where they train British soldiers to serve in Northern Ireland. You don't have much time to decide. And then everybody has years to pick you apart. So how much abuse do I have to take, whether I'm in public? I'm not a martial artist and I'm not disabled, but I'm old and fat. I can't fight some guy for a half an hour. How much of a beating do I have to take before I say, you know what, if I let him continue, he's going to kill me?
Well, I don't mean to be copping out, but we go back again to the word reasonable. And painting a scenario with just 2 or 3 facts probably isn't enough to give a meaningful description of what Rick said is true. There is no bright line rule.
So if I'm in my house and this guy starts beating me, I just have to wait until I think my life's in danger? You know,
I'm not going there with you, man. I know you want to go there, but I'm not going to let you take me. There's a whole host.
you're gonna take all my money anyway, what difference does it make?
There's a whole host of other considerations. And I think that what's important is as you filter out of here, or you drive home with your hubby or your wife or your buddy, think about this stuff. Think about what you would do.
I do this all the time. If I'm sitting in my house and somebody kicks my door in, do I ask him, does he need a cup of sugar, or wait for him to do something?
I only moved into town relatively recently. I lived in rural Douglas County since '71 when I moved here. And on probably 3 occasions, I have discharged a firearm out a window in a safe direction because I knew that somebody was out screwing around somewhere.